this game's a pile of shit.
And we're the only people that think it.
Yeah. Hey, this is the Big Red Ramble, Kingdoms of Amalur, what the fuck were the other reviewers thinking edition. I'm here with Matt.
I guess that's going to be my stance for this, because I get it. I think if you don't think too hard, this game is perfectly fine. Like, if you weren't expecting a lot, perhaps, like, if you hadn't played a lot of RPGs that, you know, excelled in writing, and that's pretty much it, actually. That's my core complaint. I guess the menus suck as well. That's not as big a complaint.
Oh, alright, let's actually try and break this down. Let's get started with menus.
So, this is Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.
Yeah. The game that doesn't do menus well.
No.
At all.
Yeah. So
there are like... No, you carry on, go.
Yeah, you're in combat right now, which is painted as the game's strength. And, you know, it's significantly better than what we've come to expect from traditional RPGs. And that's great, but painting itself as an amazing character action game, you actually need to be as good as other character action games. You can't just be slightly better than other RPGs.
Alright, so here's my biggest problem with the combat. It goes in a very different direction to other RPGs, which is a nice change of pace.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad they tried.
But the direction they went in was character action, and there are some standards you have to hit in character action.
One of them is not locking you in an animation when you want to block.
Fuck.
I know.
I can't... Look, the reason I'm getting hit so much in this particular play is because I'm smacking the bollocks out of the dodge button every time something comes at me, but because I'm in the middle of an attack animation, I get that.
Yep. Oh, here we go. Oh, are we on this now? Great. So, here, so what I don't get about the consumables menu specifically is, it's just one menu, but yet it still has the thing where you can close it down. Like, you can still hit the toggle to collapse it all. That's a bit weird. That's the minorest complaint I can make about this.
That's a very small complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, the rest of the menus have a lot of other stuff that you can collapse. Rather than just, like, scrolling right or left. That would have been a little better, I guess, but...
Yeah, just assign, like, armour pieces and foot and glove pieces to the triggers or something, so you can scroll across and look at it like that.
What was wrong with the menu where you have, a character outline? This thing sucks as well. Right, so yeah.
This is like, how can we get a rhythm game into our game?
Okay, so what was wrong with the thing where you have an image of your character and it says, you can put boots here and helmet here, rather than the collapsible menus which just clutter everything up and aren't any good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this, that's not intuitive. And
no, it's an absolute kick in the bollocks to go through every time.
And it's not even the worst one as well. It's the part where you select skills, which I assume you don't get to for a little bit. You select skills, but you can't move diagonally. You have to, like, navigate left and right in order to get down to some places.
Oh, yeah. It's like, it's the most annoying thing, because there are certain parts that are in an actual diagonal direction. You can't get to them by going directly up or directly down.
No, you have to play, like, Pipe Dream for a little bit in order to actually put your skills where they're supposed to be.
It's almost like a rhythm game that they've attached, so you have to try and hit the right and then the up at the exact right timing to get there. And sometimes you'll get there and it'll just jump one to the left and you go, fudge!
But the prevalence of loot in this game is interesting, and they give you a lot of stuff to play around with. And it's got that loot lust core that I think a lot of people responded well to. Like, there are things to find here and you improve your character.
I think they're trying at their heart to be another Diablo sort of, or more along the lines of Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
In that regard. And that's fine, but loot lust is only a part of an action RPG.
You need something else to it as well. Whereas, have we talked at any length about the narrative and the It's like I like the core narrative conceit where you're this guy that's been raised from the dead and you don't have any fate. So alongside with that, this is the end of the game, by the way.
No, this isn't far from the beginning.
Okay. What was I doing? You're the guy. You want to be the guy? It's a meta core game where...
Yeah, I'm absolutely in agreement with you. The overarching story that Salvatore created is actually really interesting. The premise is really good.
The world and stuff, where, you know, you're in this, like, fantasy realm that they've, like, created almost solely for this game and the MMO that they're making. But the plot of this one should be a lot better than it is. There's this really amazing book series, and I mentioned this in the review. Book series and some podcasts called The Machine of Death, which is about finding out how you're going to die and then dealing with the consequences of knowing that. And like that kind of conceit plays into knowing, oh, everybody knows everything about their future in this world. How does like you changing that affect it in any other way than, oh, well, my wife's over here now? Or, like, yeah, there was this one plot point where it's like, can you tell my husband, who I thought was dead, that he shouldn't be dead? Or, I don't like this game a lot. I don't know if I've made that clear.
It doesn't help that the writing itself is just not that...
No, it's not interesting. There's no character to anybody as well. Like, this guy, I suppose his main conceit is that he likes a drink, maybe? Yeah.
And that's his entire character, and he references it constantly.
Yeah, but that's... a trait isn't a personality.
And, you know, we're in 2012... You're making an RPG. Do you not think that the main character, which, by the premise of the game, is the most important person to have ever lived in this world, should have facial expressions?
Just standing there kind of mindlessly, like...
reacting exactly the same way to every single situation that occurs. And never speaking and never actually creating any conversation that is compelling in the slightest.
I mean, I'm kind of okay with that, considering that they are a blank slate and that you're filling them in with your actions. But it's... I think I could appreciate it a little bit more if everybody else was a little bit more fleshed out. Like,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is that blank slate character archetypes are fine. You got your Half-Lives,
but they need to be the straight man in the world full of odd stuff happening. I think, like,
your character has to be built via the world and the characters around him in that situation. And the world is fucking boring, and the characters around him are so badly written that.
I noticed that you're using chakrams a lot here. Which
I'd literally just picked them up at this point.
In my review, I said that it was possible to just like press X, which people disagreed with because there are options. But the chakrams are so good for just keeping enemies away and dealing a lot of damage that there really isn't a lot of incentive to do anything else.
No, I mean, I've only unlocked the charge ability in doing the chakrams, and I haven't had to do anything more than that. Every other point I've got has gone into magic spells.
I didn't really use them a lot, which, you know, it gives you viable options for combat techniques where you can play any way you want, but they're, I don't know, I don't find it very exciting. I don't find it as exciting as other games that have done it better.
Yeah, the combat has so much, like, premise going for it, good premise going for it, but when you go back, like, every time I finish a combat scenario in this game, I just think, you know what, if I went back and played Ninja Gaiden Black right now,
I'd actually be like...
I'd feel so good about that experience and feel so bad about what I just did in this.
So, like, that's been my core problem. It does things that other games do, but other games that focus on those things are way better at it.
Yeah. And that's the biggest, I think that's the key line of this game, is that it's a game without focus.
Yep. It's true.
And they've just sort of blanketed across two genres that they don't... I don't want to say they don't understand those two genres, because clearly there's a lot of talent behind this game.
Yeah, no, there's an amazing pedigree to it.
But they've missed out on some key points that they really shouldn't have. And I wonder if that's a symptom of the whole sort of it beginning as an MMO on 38 Studios' side, and the original project by Big Huge got cancelled in favour of merging the two things together.
Yeah, so it definitely plays like an MMO. If we want to get into that, Kev, what's your favourite quest in this game?
The main quest.
It's the main one. That's not a thing that you should say.
After 3 side quests at the beginning of the game that were go and destroy these crates.
Yep.
And another one that was go and buy a healing potion from the shop.
Oh, man.
I was just like, you know what? I'm not doing side quests in this game.
Yeah.
And I read Jeff Gerstmann's review, and he mentions quite specifically that you can play this as a 60-hour game with a ton of stuff to do, and more stuff to do after that if you wanted to. But the way to play this game and get the most enjoyment out of it is to play it in 20 hours and just breeze through the main quest line. So that's pretty much what I'm doing.
I would have found that difficult, though, because I tried to finish off the main quest, and it level locked me out. Like, I was 4 levels too low for me to actually finish it. So I actually had to go back and grind some stuff. I haven't come across that yet, but that's worth knowing. Yep.
Because that means I will actually have to go and grind, which means I may not finish this game, I'll be honest with you.
I only had to go grind, like, 1 level, but yeah, I entered into the last chamber of, like, stuff that you've got to do for the main quest. And then, yeah, every enemy was red, and I had to back out of this. Like, even in the narrative, that doesn't work. Like, oh man, we're gonna go attack this thing, it's the one last stand. Just wait a minute, I've got to go clear out my laundry, just arrange my shelves for a little while.
Alright, so there's a big problem with this game, is that you and I have both just used the words, we need to grind. That's not typically a single-player RPG trope.
No.
That's an MMO trope that people hate.
Yep. I'm sure that it does more of those that I've thought of, but nothing comes to mind immediately. But yeah, it's a lot of things that I don't really like that it does, that it shouldn't. Oh man, I don't even know if this went into the review that I wrote, but there was this one quest that I did where one of the directions was wait for this person to show up, or something to that degree, where, like, I had to clear out one part of the world, and then my quest direction was basically just stick your thumb up your arse for 10 seconds, this guy's got to walk over here. And that happened 3 times. I couldn't move anywhere, because that guy had to show up, but he wouldn't just spawn and then be there. It's poorly designed.
I can't put my finger on specifically what I find wrong with the camera during combat either, but something's wrong with it. It
focuses on the wrong stuff. You don't get a clear picture of what's happening. Like, some people can attack you from behind where the camera is. Where it looks very cinematic and cool when you're fighting, but it doesn't show you the right information.
Absolutely. That's what's wrong with it.
We were talking before about quests and stuff, but, like, the main quest is the best one in this, and I feel like I have to spoil this just so we have something good to say about it. At the end of it, you fight a fucking dragon, which is pretty sweet.
Fine.
Yeah. But the main quest shouldn't be the best quest in the game. You should have incentive to play other stuff. Where I remember stuff.
It's allowed to be the best quest, but it shouldn't be the only good quest.
Yeah, I guess.
That's the point.
Well, I remember back in... I used Fallout 3 as an example, which apparently I shouldn't do because 3-year-old games aren't relevant enough in this console generation. Everybody watching this should go read my review of this. Just read the comments. Don't read the stuff that I said.
Yeah.
I won't go too big into detail of it. But yeah, Fallout 3... did some great quests, like Canterbury Commons and Andale, and even part of the main quest where you were sucked into that virtual reality.
Yep.
This does none of that. There are no interesting quests.
Oblivion had a quest where you went inside of a painting. There was the entire Dark Brotherhood quest line.
That was good. They were,
Skyrim has, like,
the Daedra quest
after Daedra quest that is interesting as hell. There's a one quest where you just walk into a lighthouse in the middle of nowhere and an entire family has been murdered.
Yeah.
And you've got to go into the basement and find out why.
Man.
I can remember all that stuff.
Yeah. And I
can't remember well, I'm not going to remember a quest from this game.
People say one example that they really like is there is a guy who is a wolf that's been turned into a human.
Oh, I found that guy. But then I had no interest in him.
That guy tells you, can you go collect this thing and bring it back? And then that quest's over. And that's
Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. It's a fetch quest game.
Yeah. We could cut it off here.
It's gotten depressing.
Yeah.
I knew this ramble would end up like this.
Yep. So, what do you think everybody else saw that we didn't?
I have absolutely no idea. I feel maybe there was a bit of a lull in the gaming cycle, in the
yeah.
release schedules, and people just needed something to fill some time, and this came out, and it's a perfectly inoffensive RPG to people who don't take absolute pride in RPGs and action games.
I think that's an okay thing to say. It's also incredibly time consuming if you're looking for that as well. If you need something to do for 300 hours, and you don't really mind what it is, then sure, this is for you.
But why people aren't playing it and then going back and thinking, you know what, I could be putting more time into Skyrim, or I could go and play
something that
I don't know, any third-person game that's good.
I could be playing something that statistics would say I probably already bought.
Yeah.
If I like RPGs, I already bought the RPG that did this better.
I recently played through Darksiders.
That game's great.
And the combat in
I know
that
what you're going to say here. That's
goddamn fantastic.
You know what? Darksiders is the Kingdoms of Amalur that should have existed, I think.
Absolutely.
It takes... Wait, it should have existed. It totally existed. That doesn't make any sense. But what I'm trying to say is that it cribs from a lot of other sources and actually improves on all of them. It's a Zelda game that has better combat than a Zelda game and more interesting stuff inside it, I think.
A more interesting story than a Zelda game as well.
Yeah, definitely so. It's a game that's better than the sum of its parts, whereas this one is one that's worse than them.
Yeah. This is a mishmash of genres that should work really well together and come out working slightly less than competently.
Oh, the map. We haven't even talked about the fucking map.
Yeah.
This is the worst. Don't put quests in your game that I can't easily search through the map.
No.
The quest screen goes into the map screen fine, but the map screen doesn't go into the quest screen immediately, and you can only toggle one quest at a time. So unless you're in the area and you want to do the area view for quest stuff, then you can see what's in that area. But if you want to go somewhere else where you have a main quest thing to do and you want to do other stuff there, you have to check every single quest that you've got in that area one by one, and not even easily. You can't even easily get back to the map after you've done it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so poorly designed.
There's no excuse for that. You have to back out through God knows how many menus to get from the quest log back to the gameplay, and then press a completely different button to get into the map. And it's worth pointing out there was one commenter on your review who complained that you didn't realise how the white circles worked.
Oh, I understood. It's still bad.
What he didn't realise is that only works in local maps.
Yeah. So I can only see what's in the area. When you're looking around a
world map, that doesn't help in the slightest. There are no white circles on the world map.
Nope.
Yeah.
You want to bring up the comments of the review, actually?
Go on, then.
I don't really. It'd probably just delve into me answering that one guy that said I owed EA a good review because they gave me a copy.
It's absolutely not the case.
That's the opposite of every other complaint.
Yeah.
Right?
Most people admit that, oh, you got sent a review copy, no wonder you gave it a good score.
Yeah. Oh, you're so mean. They went out of their way to give you a copy that they didn't have to. You should have been nicer about it. It's only polite. I kind of want to just end it here. Can we call that?
Yeah, we can just end it here.
Yeah. This is Kingdoms of Amalur.
Kobolds,
yeah. Oh, they didn't... Yeah. Oh, there are only 6 enemies in this game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I've pretty much experienced all of the enemy variety already.
Yeah. That's good.
Except for a dragon.
I mentioned this on the show that I'm on, which I probably can't plug, because this is not that website. But they do this interesting shot where, you fight a troll within the first hour, I think.
Yeah.
They use, interesting camera angles when certain enemies appear on screen to be oh man, this guy is gonna mess you up because he's real big. But they use that every time the troll appears, and it's I beat up one of these. I don't know what you're trying to say here. You're trying to say that he's some tough stuff. I
think what we're trying to say after about 20 minutes of rambling on is, hey, Big Huge, go ahead and make a second game where you learn from your mistakes, which you probably won't learn from, because every other outlet has for some reason given you a good score. And not even just a good score, like a really good score.
Yeah, like 8 has been, like, standard, I guess. Which, like, I get it, I think. I think I do get it. I think the world is big, it gives you a lot of stuff to do, and it looks okay, and it tried something, but it just doesn't pan out. It's
so shallow. That's the biggest problem. It's massive and shallow.
Yeah.
It's like a bloody enormous puddle.
I was going to say it's like a chode, but that's good too.
Sure.
Yep. But no, puddle works too. Dawn French falls inside of this game, and it's one of the most hilarious things about British comedy.
And you don't even end up waist high.
Nope.
It's just, you get your toes wet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
it. Go watch The Vicar of Dibley, and not Kingdoms of Amalur.
This has got to be the first ramble we've ever done where we talked entirely about the game and didn't go off on one.
It deserved it. Goodbye, Internet.
Bye.